Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you need to maybe switch careers or change industry because where you are is currently not supporting your growth and you feel stuck? It feels like you're unable to make that shift because you're scared of the change that could come as a result of this shift, of this pivot. A lot of people remain in this very little place because of this fear of the unknown, the fear of moving from what they have already known and mastered to getting into a new space that they basically become a learner in. And one thing I have noticed with a lot of people who have created success and are living an amazing life is that they don't wait for change to happen to them. They don't wait for change to push them out of certain situations. They are actively seeking new situations that they pivot into. So they're not waiting for life to happen to them. They are choosing to change. In all of the options they have, they are choosing growth. This is tied to a decision they may have made a long time ago. It's tied to a decision they had made earlier to live an outstanding life. So what decisions have you made for your life and how is that playing out for you? If you want to live a life of success, a life of growth, then it is important that you get into an experiment with your life. There is this concept that was taught to me by one of my coaches, and he said this is the way that a lot of successful people create success, and I'm going to share it with you. So he said that at every level of your life, of your career, you go from being in the 80% to the top 20%. So you go from being like every other person, you're growing through it, you're learning, and then you get to the top 20% or the top 5% or the top 1%, as the case may be. And you begin to feel like that room is too small for you. Now, when you get to that point, if you don't change rooms, you begin to decline. We've all often seen people who, it seems like, oh, this person was doing well, and then suddenly you stop hearing about them. It seems like they've lost their relevance. They got to the top 1% in that space, in that room, and they didn't see the need to switch rooms, to move, to pivot, because it got very comfortable. Now, what he says is, at every point, no matter how big that space is, you always get to that point. If you're putting in the work, you get to that point where you grow until you're now on the top 1%. Now, you need to consciously seek new rooms where you also get to repeat the circle. So you go from maybe being in a 2 square feet room to being in a 10 square feet room to be in a 50 square feet room until you keep growing on and you get to maybe a 500,000 square feet room, because you are consciously growing. And then this is how you grow, expand, and you keep pivoting rather than for your growth to start tanking. You just keep pivoting, you just keep growing. So you want to intentionally put yourself in rooms where you're learning and you're growing into that room. When you get to the top 20% or 5% or 1%, you intentionally move to another room. You seek another room, you seek another space that would allow you to do the same. Let's use someone like Dangote as an example. Dangote was in the cement industry. He started, with logistics, and then he was transporting cement and all of that, and then he got into the production of cement. And when he had done that for a while, and then he had gotten to the top 1% in that industry in the world, I guess, or maybe in Africa, he decided to branch into consumer goods, sugar, flour, and things like that. So he is seeking, new new spaces for him to grow. And when he was also done growing in those consumer goods, he now got into oil. You can still, when you look at this, you'd see it in the life of every successful high achiever out there. So Elon Musk had SpaceX, and then Tesla, and now Twitter, and some other innovations. Now he's going to Mars. These people keep seeking something new. They keep pivoting. You need to embrace pivot. You want a situation where you're constantly creating change. You're constantly creating change. You're embracing change. And this way, you discover that you are growing and building, success or growth in different industries in multiple places. And this just helps you to keep going as much as possible. For you to be able to do this, for you to be able to implement this in your life, I have a framework for you to use. And so I call this the 5 P's. So the first P is your purpose. Now, when you know what your purpose is not tied to a space or theme or something you do. It's like water. Your purpose is like water. When it's in a cup, it's a cup of water. When it's in a bottle, it's a bottle of water. When it's in a bucket, it's a bucket of water. So you want to get to that point where you align so much with your purpose that you're very clear on what it is and how it can fit into different contexts and different situations, and you're able to operate in different industries and things like that, but you're still doing the same thing. And this is one thing I help my clients with. In fact, when we start our work, we spend so much time getting through this, because once you unlock this, every other thing becomes very easy for you. It becomes easy for you to identify problems that you're resourced to solve, or even when you're not resourced to solve them, you can bring together the people who would help you solve them. So when it comes to your purpose, you're looking at those problems that you have the capacity to solve, and the people you want to solve those problems for, right? So you're looking at it, and these people can change at different times, but then the problems also may take different forms, but then you're still doing basically the same thing over and over again. Now, the second P is production. What do you now? So you now know what your purpose is. You know what you've been placed here to do, right? Now, how do you begin to do it? You do it by creating products, creating services, creating assets that will help you solve these people's problems. And my definition of wealth is our ability to use our uniqueness and creativity to create assets that solve specific problems for specific people. So if you're able to use your uniqueness, which never runs out, with your creativity, which also never runs out, to create assets to solve problems for people. Now, problems never run out. We have so many problems in the world. That means we have opportunities to build wealth. If we're very intentional about putting all this together, you'll be able to build wealth. So this production is you creating assets, creating things that will help you solve these problems better. When it comes to production now, at different seasons of your life, at different levels of your execution, you are going to be producing different things. Like the example we use with Dangote, at one point he was doing logistics, which was his service then. At another time he was producing only cement, and then he went into household items like spaghetti, sugar, and all of those things. And then he moved while still doing all those things. Can you see that his production is increasing with his growth, with the way he's pivoting? It's the products he has, his product line and services are improving, right? Are increasing rather. And now he is getting into oil. Of course, those are the things I know. There are I know other things that he is working on, or products he's created that I may not be aware of. But when you see this shows that he has, different products he's producing. And this leads to the next P, which is position. Now, this position helps you to position yourself in the places where the people who need your services or your products can have access to it. So here we're looking at it from distribution. How are you able to distribute and reach the people who need those products that you have, or those products that you've created? So you've identified these people have these problems, and then you've created assets, products and services that help them solve these problems. So now it's for you to ensure that you have some level of accessibility, you are visible to them, and they have access to use these things that you have created for them, to use these products that you have created for them. So it is very important that you work on your positioning. Your positioning can also, again, look like you changing rooms, moving from one place which you have outgrown, or which you have grown to the top level, to get into another place where you're learning, and you continuously grow, improve, and get better, and you just keep on building on it. The next P is picture. Now, you want a situation where I am hung on really visualizing, right? You want a situation where you use your imagination to imagine where you are headed to, what destination you want to get to, what goal you want to create, what vision you have for the world, that transformation you want to create in the world. When you in different rooms, this would look differently. So you want a situation where your vision, you keep on improving on it, you keep on tweaking it a little to fit that place that you're headed. So you want a situation where your vision, so what that picture you're holding, inspires you to keep on putting the work, to keep on embracing change, to keep on growing and aspiring for more. This would help you to create the momentum needed to keep pushing. So having a very clear and vivid picture of where you're headed will help you to put in the work, enjoy the process, and just keep going regardless of the challenges you experience. In fact, you throw yourself into some challenges because you know that often challenges helps you to grow, and it helps you to get better. And then the last P is your person. Now, when it comes to your person, what we're talking about is everything that makes you this very amazing, unique person. I like to say one of our most important superpower is that there can never be two of us. Nobody can sound like you. Somebody can sound like you, somebody can look like you, but then nobody can be you. And what makes you is all of the cumulative experiences you've had. This cumulative experiences makes you unique because no two people can have the same experience. So even with your siblings, growing up in the same household, you would experience your parents differently, and then this helps you to form your stories and the ways that you go about life as much as possible, things you see, things you open yourself to, and all of that. And then we now have unique talents and skills, unique talents that God has blessed us with. For me, it's my ability to speak. So I go on to learn how to improve this talent to make it a very important skill, and a skill that I can make the most out of. So you connecting to your person, you maximizing your person in this situation is you connecting and making sense of all of those experiences you've had. You put it together with this talent you've been blessed with, and you go on to improve on the talent you have, on the skills you have to make it better. This way, you're now showing up as a better version of yourself. You're going into, you're subjecting yourself to lifelong learning because you want to keep learning, keep growing, keep improving, keep creating a bank of experiences, of memories, and you're improving your skills. This way, you're able to keep pivoting, keep growing as much as possible. So I hope that this video helps you to open yourself up to pivoting, open yourself up to experiencing the newness of life by you embracing change and going into the experiment of life with yourself, and for you to keep changing those rooms, improving, getting better. When you go through the point where you feel like you have gotten to the top 20% in whatever space you're operating in, you get into something new that you learn and grow as well, so you don't get complacent, you don't get comfortable, and you just keep growing and getting better. So I hope you found this useful. Do well to like, share, comment, and subscribe.